The air raid sirens screamed across Tromsø Fjord. Tirpitz lay anchored in shallow water. Her crew rushed to battle stations. British bombers were coming. Lancaster bombers carrying Torbay bombs. Each bomb weighed 5 tons. Tirpitz had 19 minutes from first warning to impact. She never moved, she never escaped. Tirpitz was Germany's largest battleship, sister ship to the legendary Bismarck, launched in 1939, displacing 42,900 tons fully loaded. Armed with 8 15-inch guns, 12 5.9-inch secondary guns, armor up to 12, 6 inches thick protecting vital areas, she was designed to dominate the North Atlantic. The ship was named after Admiral Alfred von Tirpitz, father of the German Imperial Navy, the man who built Germany's fleet in the early 20th century. His legacy was this massive warship, a symbol of German naval power, but Tirpitz never fought a major surface battle, never engaged enemy battleships, never fired her main guns at enemy warships. Instead, she spent most of the war hiding in Norwegian fjords, a fleet in being, a threat that tied down enormous Allied resources. Winston Churchill called her the Beast. He obsessed over destroying her. The Royal Navy spent years trying to sink her. Submarine attacks, carrier air strikes, commando raids, midget submarines, everything failed. Tirpitz survived, damaged, repaired, but still afloat, still dangerous. By November 1944, she remained Germany's last major surface combatant, the last symbol of naval power. Britain wanted her dead. Tirpitz was not a fighting ship anymore. She was a prisoner, trapped in Norwegian waters, unable to break out into the Atlantic, unable to threaten convoys, unable to fulfill her design purpose. The Royal Navy had damaged her repeatedly. In September 1943, British midget submarines attacked. X-craft submarines penetrated the fjord defenses, placed explosive charges under her hull. The explosions damaged her propellers, her engines, her rudder. Tirpitz was crippled. Repairs took months. When she was finally ready for sea trials in April 1944, British carrier aircraft attacked. Operation Tungsten, 40 bombers struck, 14 hits, more damage, more casualties, more repairs needed. In July and August 1944, more carrier strikes, more damage. The ship was patched together, barely operational. Her engines were unreliable. Her fire control systems damaged. She could not go to sea, could not fight, could only defend herself. By September 1944, Germany moved her north, to Tromsø Fjord, near the Arctic Circle, closer to home, easier to defend, or so they thought. The British had developed a new weapon, the Torbay bomb, designed by Barnes-Wallis, the same engineer who created the bouncing bomb used against German dams. Torbay was enormous, 21 feet long, 38 inches in diameter. Weighing 12,000 pounds, 5 tons of bomb, it had a streamlined shape, designed for deep penetration, stabilizing fins for accuracy. The bomb was not like conventional weapons. It did not rely on direct hits. Instead, it used earthquake effect. Dropped from high altitude, it reached supersonic speed. When it struck, it penetrated deep into the earth, or into a ship's deck, then detonated below, creating a massive underground explosion. The shockwave destroyed foundations, shattered structures, caused catastrophic damage. Only the Lancaster bomber could carry Torbay, only specially modified Lancasters. The bomb bay had to be enlarged, the bomb doors removed, the aircraft stripped of excess weight. Even then, the Lancaster struggled. Range was limited, altitude reduced, but the weapon was devastating. Britain would use it against Tirpitz. November 12, 1944, early morning, RAF Lossiemouth in Scotland, 32 Lancaster bombers prepared for takeoff, crews from 9 Squadron and 617 Squadron, the famous Dambusters Squadron, the elite of bomber command. Each Lancaster carried 1 Torbay bomb, plus fuel for the long flight, over 1,200 miles to Tromsø, then 1,200 miles back, 6 hours flying time, over enemy territory, through German fighters, through anti-aircraft fire. Wing Commander James Tate led the mission, Operation Catechism, the third attempt to sink Tirpitz with Torbays. The previous attempts had failed, bad weather, cloud cover, poor visibility. This time the weather was clear, perfect conditions. The bombers took off at 0300 hours, climbing slowly, heavily loaded, forming up over Scotland, then heading east, over the North Sea, toward Norway, toward Tromsø, toward Tirpitz. The Germans had some warning. Radar detected the formation. Air raid alerts went out. Fighters scrambled, but Tromsø was far north. Few fighters were based nearby. Help would arrive late, too late. At 11:33 a.m., sirens wailed across Tromsø Fjord. Air raid warning, bombers approaching from the southwest. Tirpitz's crew rushed to action stations. Watertight doors sealed, anti-aircraft guns manned, damage control teams ready, but the ship was trapped, anchored in shallow water, only 50 feet deep, not enough clearance to maneuver. The battleship was stationary, a sitting target. She could not run, could not dodge. Could only fight back with her guns. Smoke generators activated. Canisters on shore began pouring thick smoke, designed to obscure the ship, hide her from bombers, but the wind was wrong. The smoke drifted away. Tirpitz remained visible, exposed. Captain Robert Weber commanded the battleship. He knew they were vulnerable. He ordered all guns to prepare. The 5 9-inch guns could elevate to anti-aircraft angles. The 4 1-inch flak guns were ready. The 37 and 20 automatic weapons manned. Every gun that could reach high altitude was aimed skyward, but against tallboys it might not be enough. At 11:52 a.m. the Lancasters appeared, flying at 14,000 feet, above the effective range of most flak. They came from the south, formation tight. Bomb bay doors open, tallboys visible beneath each aircraft. German anti-aircraft fire opened up, heavy flak bursting around the bombers, black puffs of smoke, shrapnel fragments. The Lancasters flew through it. Some were hit, damaged, but continued on. The crews were focused. Tirpitz was in their bomb sights. From Tirpitz, every gun fired. The noise was deafening. Shells streaked upward, tracers laced the sky. The crew could see the bombers clearly. Large, slow, heavy with their massive bombs, they seemed unstoppable. The first Lancaster released. The tallboy dropped away, falling, picking up speed, the streamlined shape cutting through air. Other bombers released in sequence, one after another, tallboys falling like massive darts. The bombs took 30 seconds to fall, from 14,000 feet to sea level, 30 seconds of silent descent. The crew on Tirpitz watched them fall, helpless, unable to maneuver, unable to escape. They could only wait and hope the bombs missed. They did not miss. The first tallboy struck amidships, port side. It punched through the armored deck like paper. The armor was designed for horizontal shells. Not 5-ton bombs falling at supersonic speed. The tallboy penetrated deep into the ship, into the machinery spaces, then detonated. The explosion was catastrophic. The entire midship section erupted, a massive fireball. The blast destroyed boilers, shattered bulkheads, ruptured fuel tanks. Fire spread instantly. The ship shuddered. Crew were thrown across compartments. Many died immediately. Seconds later, another hit, forward of the first. Another tallboy, another penetration. Another massive explosion, this one near the forward magazines. Secondary explosions followed, ammunition cooking off. The forward section was wrecked. A third tallboy struck near the bow. More destruction, more flooding, more fire. The ship was being torn apart. Beaten to death by bombs that weighed more than cars, near misses added to the damage. Tallboys striking the water alongside created massive underwater explosions. The shockwaves buckled hull plates. Open seams, water flooded in. The shallow anchorage became a trap, no deep water to absorb the shockwaves. Tirpitz began listing to port, 5 degrees, then 10, 15. Water poured through the damaged hull, flooding compartments. The pumps could not cope. The damage was too extensive, too many breaches. Too much flooding. The crew fought desperately. Damage control teams tried to shore bulkheads, close valves, pump water, but the fires made it impossible. Smoke filled compartments. Heat was unbearable. Men collapsed, died at their posts. Captain Weber ordered counter-flooding. Deliberately flood starboard compartments. Balance the ship, slow the list. But it was too late. The damage was too severe. The list continued, 20 degrees, 25, 30. At 12:02 p.m. the order came, abandon ship. 10 minutes after the first bomb hit, The battleship was dying, the crew had to escape. Now, before she rolled completely, men scrambled up tilting decks, climbing toward the starboard side, the high side, away from the water. Some made it, many did not. Below decks, hundreds were trapped, in flooded compartments, in burning spaces, unable to escape. At 12:11 p.m., Tirpitz rolled completely over, 19 minutes after the air raid sirens first sounded, 19 minutes from warning to capsize. The massive hull turned turtle, the bottom now facing the sky. Red paint visible, propellers exposed. The ship settled upside down in the shallow water. Men still aboard slid down the hull, into the freezing water. Others were trapped inside, pounding on the hull from within, screaming, drowning. Rescue crews could hear them but could do nothing. The hull was too thick, tools inadequate, time too short. Some survivors cut through thinner sections, rescued a few trapped men, but most died inside, drowned in air pockets as water slowly rose, or suffocated as oxygen ran out. It took hours, days. The sounds of pounding gradually ceased. The beast was finally dead. Churchill's obsession was ended. Tirpitz would never threaten another convoy, never fire her guns, never sail again. Of 1,700 crew aboard, approximately 1,000 died, killed in the explosions. Drowned in flooding compartments, trapped inside the capsized hull, burned in fires. The casualty rate was nearly 60%. Captain Weber survived. He had been on deck when the ship capsized. He escaped into the water, was rescued, but the guilt consumed him. His ship was lost. His men were dead. He had been unable to save them, unable to maneuver, unable to escape. The survivors were traumatized. Many had lost friends, watched them die, heard them screaming inside the hull. Unable to help, the memory haunted them forever. For Germany, the loss was symbolic. The last great battleship was gone. Naval power was extinct. The Kriegsmarine was finished. Only U-boats remained, and they were losing too. The war was lost. Tirpitz remains in Tromsø Fjord today, upside down. Partially salvaged after the war, sections cut away for scrap metal, but much of the hull remains, a massive underwater monument. Divers explore the wreck regularly, swimming through inverted compartments, seeing gun turrets hanging upside down, walking on what was the ceiling. The ship is dark, cold, silent, a tomb for hundreds of sailors whose bodies were never recovered. The wreck is protected, a war grave, but accessible to experienced divers. Artifacts have been recovered. Displayed in museums, the ship's bell, personal effects, pieces of armor plate, each item tells a story, each represents lives lost. The site is marked above water, a memorial to those who died. Tirpitz never fulfilled her purpose. She was designed to dominate oceans, to sink enemy battleships, to rule the seas. Instead, she spent the war hiding, running, surviving, until she could not survive anymore. 19 minutes. That was all the time between warning and death. 19 minutes to escape a trap she could never escape. Anchored in shallow water, unable to maneuver, a prisoner of geography, a victim of her own size. The crew did their duty. They fought, they died, not in glorious battle, but trapped like animals, pounded by bombs they could not avoid, drowning in a ship that became their coffin. Tirpitz. Germany's largest battleship. Churchill's obsession, Norway's prisoner. She threatened for years, then died in minutes. The beast was finally slain. 19 minutes. That was all she had.